Welcome back once again to part 4 of EX17, our mobile version of our Wells Lawn Care site. And we're going to be focusing on this middle area on this one, because right now on our mobile view, it looks like this. The only issue is I feel like it's a little off-center. And the only thing I could think of to affect that off-center before I get to the middle part is if I go up into my styles and just look from the top and see what could be throwing it off. Nothing in the body. Nothing in the header. Banner, it has margin left auto. Now auto usually means the same thing on either side, but maybe there's a problem without being flex. So I'm going to copy this one and I'm going to go down and put it in H1 banner, and there is a margin top on there, but let's just see if we put it on 0 if that wipes it out. So I'm just going to put it on 0 and I'll refresh. And I'll go here, and now I think it's centered. I don't think it's off. I think it looks okay. So I think there was an issue with that. So putting that to 0 seems to be okay, and that's all we have to do with that. So now we'll focus on this part. We have to find what's going on here, and we'll look and see what it is. It's our section. So let's look in our section. We have a div class copy. We have a section with no class name, and that's okay. And we have an image on the right side that we probably want to disappear. And we also have, where's the other image? How's that image coming in here? Well, that's actually a background image, if you remember. If you go into styles, that's a background image, and that's in the section part. So let's just focus on this first. I'll copy one thing at a time, and I'll take it down into my query. And let me move this over and copy this one and paste it. And I'll tab this stuff over, and I'll tab this over, so everything's kind of organized. It's easier to find problems. You don't want to have problems just because your curly braces are messed up. So what are we going to do here? Well, we're not going to do any background image, so we could put none. So that should wipe that out. And background color, it's not changing, so we don't need to do anything with it. Display flex, that is changing, so we're going to put column here. So that'll wipe out everything being in columns, believe it or not. Even though it says column, it means a single column. So display flex we don't need. We're just going to change the flex direction to column. And then background repeat, background, I don't think we need any of that because we're not having a background image anymore. So that should take care of our image on the left side. So let's see how that looks. Let's refresh it and move it over. So when we get to 750, that should disappear. Now obviously we have to realign this stuff, and we also want that thing to disappear, even though you can't see it, but we want that to disappear. So how do we do that? Well, let's just go find that image, and it's image right, alt right, class equals right. So it does have a class name, so it's section dot right. I should probably call it image right or something, but I don't know if I have anything. Let me just put image right, image dash right. And I don't know if I have any styles related to that. Before you change a class name, change your styles and make sure you don't have anything called image logo. It would be in section, so I'd have to go into section. Is there anything called image right? Oh, it's image dot right, and that's actually, it's just the image. So this would be image dot image right. Now, maybe you don't even have to mess with that because it's getting a little confusing. So if you left it on right, but now it's the image right class, that's the image. Image is targeting the element, and it's saying dot image right. Now, I think you could just do this. Maybe you don't even need that. I don't even think you need that image before it. As long as it has its class name, I think you should be good, because we basically put the image in the name, so it's easier to identify. And let's copy this because we're in our regular styles, and let's go down here and let's put it in there. And it says flex grow 2, max height. We don't want anything. We actually just want display none. See if that works. And sometimes you could just change, I don't know if that'll work. Sometimes you could just change the size to like 0 or something so you don't see it at all, or change the color to transparency. Let's see if display none works, if that wipes it out. So here we'll refresh, and we'll know when we get to 750, and It looks like it's disappearing. They're both disappearing at the same time. So that's what we want. Okay, so that's good. So we just need to center this stuff in the middle here and adjust some of that paragraph formatting. So that's a bunch of stuff up here. So we'll go back up here. We got section done, section copy, section H1, section P, section H1P, all this kind of stuff here. Now we kind of did the image before that. So we'll copy all of these. This is all the copy stuff. So section copy, all the stuff that's inside section that relates to the text because we dealt with the images. So we'll go here, we'll make it look all nice. We'll highlight all these things and get rid of the stuff we don't need. Hit tab. And I think that looks okay. I'll tab this over so that looks like everything else. So section 1, we're not going to change color. We're not going to change that. We're going to change, the only thing we're going to change of the H1 is the font size. So instead of using pixels here, maybe we'll do it like 64, which would be 4 rem. 4 rem. That would be 4 times 16. So we'll do that. Now the paragraph, the font size, I don't know if we need that to change. Might be okay the way it is. We might put rem in there based on its original. So we may put, let's see, that could be 1.5 rem, 16 and 8. Yeah, let's put 1.5 rem and make sure I put in the 0.5 and see what happens. So we're going to change the paragraph now. First of all, let's just deal with this. Section 1, font size rem. Now, I'm not sure where we had things lined up. We might want to do text align center, I think. I'm not sure yet. Or we don't have to. Maybe it doesn't have to be centered, but we have a margin in there that we're going to have to deal with. And it looks like they both have margin here. So we're going to take that away and see how much we need. Let's just put one rem in there and see what that looks like. 1 rem on margin left. And probably need a margin right as well. So we'll deal with that. But let's see. Color. Paragraph isn't going to change, so I'll delete that. Font family isn't going to change. Font weight isn't going to change. Line height probably isn't going to change. So we don't have as much stuff here. So flex grow, margin right. We do have a margin right. I don't need flex grow, I don't think. Now let's just see what happens here because we have some issues with spacing. Margin left, we have a margin right. And let's just see what happens there. I'm not sure yet, so we'll deal with that stuff. Refresh it and bring it over. Okay, that looks pretty good. And you can see there's parts where you might be able to put, actually it doesn't look bad, where you could put is R together. Your property is R priority. And what that is a non-breaking space. And I'll just throw that in there just for the hell of it. And that would be in the top part. That would be in our index HTML. And that's called a non-breaking space. And that would actually go in here to our headline. And if you want to have is our priority always stay together, you could go in here and put ampersand NBSP, and there it comes up, non-breaking space. And I'll put one between both of these. And you don't put any other spaces in there because that is the non-breaking space. It's just a space where they don't break up. That's all it means. You know, first and last name you want to keep together, or the Beatles, you want to keep them together as the Beatles. They could stand together. So non-breaking space, let's see what happens here. And it keeps it pretty nice, actually. I like it. Almost looks like a heading. So that text could be a little smaller, possibly, on mobile. So I'll go back here, and that's the copy. Or what is that? Oh, that's the paragraph size. We could make it like 1.3. See how that works. And resize it here. That's a little better. And our margin is off. We have like 80 on the right side. That looks okay there. We might put a little bit more on the left and about the same on the right. So let's deal with that. So our section copy has a margin right, and our H1 and P, I think we just put them together. So because copy is really all of these. So I guess we can do these together. It's probably not the best thing here, but let's keep it in rem. That's 1 rem. Let's make that 1.5 rem, and let's put this 1.5 rem and see what happens. So now they're even on each side, even though that's the whole thing, and this is, but you always want to rewrite ones that you already have, so that's why I'm doing that. So going back, I may rethink how I did that, but for right now, That looks pretty good. And I might even go a little more. I may just put it at 2. So instead of 1.5, I think 2 will be okay. We'll have a nice little margin on there, 2 rem. Remember, rem means root m. And remember, you don't need a space here. You can have one. And that looks pretty good. Now, there might be a little more space on the top for some reason. I don't know. I'll have to check that. What kind of margin do we have on the top? And I'll have to go back and look up here. Section padding top in the section part, 36. I don't think I want that much up there. I don't know if I have section in here. Oh, I think I do. Let me copy this. Yeah, we must have section because we had to take away the background image. So down here, there's section. And oh, it's right here. I don't have to copy anything. I'll just make it, let's see, 2M would be 32. So let's just make it 1M, which is 16. And that should look okay. So that's for the whole section. And that would be up here. So we have a little less up here. And we have 2 rem on each side. And that looks pretty good. You know what? I would even make the text a little bigger. And where I'm talking about is the backup with the paragraph stuff. Line height 150. I might make that a little more. At a smaller size, I might want a little more spread out. So that was, I think that was the paragraph stuff. Or it could have been copy. I'm not sure. I'll just put it in the paragraph and change the line height. And instead of 150, I'll make it 180. See how that looks. And I'll refresh it and resize it. And now it's spread out a little bit. So it looks okay down here. So again, without dealing with a lot of stuff above and below this and all that, that looks pretty good in terms of a mobile layout. Now, we took away our images, but on a mobile layout, we might have our images stacked. And what we want to have happen next, and this will probably take the longest, is we'd want to click on here and have our menu show up, because we don't have our menu. We lost our menu. We just have a visual of a hamburger menu, but it's not active. So we're going to use JavaScript for that. And since we are going to use JavaScript for that, one thing we could do before we take a break is go back to our index and see if we have that hamburger menu identified with a ID name, because that may be one way we need to click on it. So we can give it an ID name as well. ID equals, we'll just call it ham. Put ham in there so it has its own ID name so we can target it. So we'll do that. Now we targeted styling with ham item, but we'll just call it an ID ham. And you can have a class name and an ID ham item. You could do them both the same. We'll see how that works. Hopefully that's not conflicting. And maybe I'll just do that. I'll use the ID ham item if I use get item by ID. And I'll use that to display our menu items, but we're going to have to put them in a block. So that's going to take a little more work in our JavaScript. And like I said, I think I looked this up. I didn't know this by heart exactly how to do it. I'll show you a couple ways you could do it, and then I'll show you a shorter way to do it if you're interested in JavaScript, because we're going to use regular JavaScript to do that, and then we'll worry about refreshing and all that kind of stuff and making it go back to normal. So right now I think visually everything's okay. That looks good. That looks centered. This looks good. We might want a little space above that paragraph, I'm thinking, but I guess as long as I'm going to do it, I might as well go do it before I forget. I'm not going to think about it later. So I'll go in here and put a padding top, and I'll just put 1 rem. That might be too much, but let's see. And I have pad thing. That's not going to work. So let's see if that works. And that looks a little better. A little space in there. That looks good. So things are okay here, and I think we're ready to roll on to part 5. So this was our middle part, or section. So what we did here is we got rid of the images so they don't show. We made our headline a little bit smaller. We made our paragraph text a little bit smaller. We took away the flex so it's no longer 2 columns. Took away the background image. That image over there was a background image. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make it be a little more interactive by using JavaScript. And again, stuff isn't always easy. There's a lot of stuff to think about. I mean, you just can mess up one thing. More than one people, and they do it in every class, sometimes mess up this. The littlest thing can mess you up. It's like nothing's working, and then you go in here and you find out that somehow they have wherever the link to our JavaScript is. Oh, we didn't even link to it yet. But if you put SCR, because it sounds like, oh, that's script, SCR, and it should be SRC. Just like when you have an image, image should be SRC, not SCR. It's not a script, it's a source. So that can be confusing sometimes when you're doing a script tag. So we'll have to make sure we do that. So we're going to link this up to our JavaScript file. And if you don't have one, we'll just make a new one in here, because I don't think we do by default. And we'll go from there and see what happens. So that'll be in part 5. So that's the end of part 4.